Well, they may sound good to me, too. Welcome, Governor. Let me just ask you specifically whether then you support the DREAM Act as it has currently been introduced so that young people who came here through no decision of their own as a child have a path to citizenship if they played by the rules, gone to school, and ready to contribute to America.
I haven't seen the current form of the DREAM Act, so I can't comment on it.
It's the same version we've offered the last 4 sessions against Republican opposition. Not familiar with it?
I don't want to insult you, but
okay, well, let me
I
go
don't
to
follow everything. But I do support, I have read Senator Rubio's
yes,
ideas,
which doesn't, right, it doesn't provide a path to citizenship. Let me go to something you are familiar with, which was your testimony, which I think raises the right question. Why should a company pay taxes to support government subsidies for one of its competitors? Mr. Edwards answered that question very specifically in saying the place to start is to eliminate $100 billion almost of business subsidies every year. Do you agree with him?
Yeah. No, I think in general we should have go through a thought. This is a place where there seems to be common ground, a thoughtful review of all sorts of subsidies.
Well, I know we want to be thoughtful, and I know we want to review, but you agree with him that we should eliminate $100 billion of business subsidies?
With all due respect, I don't know. I don't. Give me the specifics. I'm happy to answer.
I'm relying on his specifics, but I'll give you a smaller specific that I think is included, and that is $4 billion every year to in preferential tax treatment to Exxon, Chevron, and the other big 5 oil companies. For drilling off our coastlines. Do you favor eliminating those subsidies?
In return for lower tax rates, I think that's exactly what we ought to be doing.
Great. We have had discussions about simplifying the federal tax code. Everyone is for it, but it has been simply impossible to get a description of any preferential tax provisions or loopholes that are to be closed. Could you identify, in addition to closing the preferential treatment for Exxon, any other tax loopholes or preferential tax provisions that you favor closing?
Well, first of all, I don't favor, just to be clear, because this is a gotcha kind of environment, it seems like, I'm not for specifically closing loopholes just for Exxon. I mean, let's be clear. I would say this ought to be industry-wide in return for lower rates. I don't think are you asking me, should we target one company?
I'm asking you if we are to lower corporate rates, which is actually something that I agree with you on, and we're not going to borrow from the Chinese and the Saudis to do it. You've indicated you'd be willing to close the loopholes for Exxon and Chevron to help pay for that. And I'm asking you if you can identify anything else, because I can't get my colleagues to do that, to identify any of the tax loopholes they would close. Which other ones are you in favor of closing in order to get lower corporate tax rates and not have to borrow from the Chinese?
I would start by doing it like, maybe you all could come up with an idea like the BRAC Commission and start with all of them being eliminated and build from that basis.
Well, I think the BRAC,
and so I think the general approach ought to be that this crisis that we face is an opportunity to recast who we are as a nation. And do we trust the American people interacting amongst themselves in ways that have historically created more prosperity than this command and control approach that we follow?
Well, I appreciate that, and we, of course, have had some bipartisan commissions looking at our budget, Senator Domenici and Alice Rivlin, the Simpson-Bowles Commission. Every one of them has said we cannot get our budget in balance without new revenues. In contrast, Republican presidential candidates, when offered the choice of $1 of new revenue for $10 of reduced spending, said they wouldn't agree to a bipartisan agreement like that. Would you?
10 to 1?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this will prove I'm not running for anything. Yeah, I mean, if you could get a
I appreciate your candor. I mean, basically, we cannot close the budget gap without addressing both spending and revenue, as all of those bipartisan commissions have recommended. Wouldn't you agree?
If you could bring to me a majority of people to say that we're going to have $10 of spending cuts for $1 of revenue enhancement, put me in, Coach.
Yeah. Problem is the 10 never
Thank you.
materializes. Mr. Langford.
I've never
Thank you.
seen a $10
Thank you for your
cut thing.
testimony, Governor.
$10 can, that would be wonderful. Let's see it. That'd be spectacular.